This week on the Virtual Skeptics. Bob can taste colors. Eve isn't mentioning the druids. Barb isn't chauffeuring lacrosse players. And Tim, he's having dinner at a fancy pants restaurant. I'm your host, Brian Gregory. And yes, Mark, Virtual Skeptics would be a crappy show. I'd like to thank Mark Price from Twitter for that startup joke this week. Hi, this is Virtual Skeptics. Very skeptics.
That's his German accent.
That's my German accent. Yes. I have to warn everybody who's watching. We had a conversation about politics before show, which means this is probably going to be the most depressing show ever.
Also, don't ask Barb about Lucy.
Yes, don't ask Barb about Lucy. That'd be a great band name. Let me introduce the crew. This guy. For president, Bob Blaskowitz. He's highest conspiracy guy, web columnist, blogger for Skeptical Humanities, and Skeptical contributor, and running for president.
I want to kiss your babies.
Yes, that's scary. Eve Siebert, editor and blogger at Skeptical Humanities, and contributor to Skepticality and Insight at skeptic.com, and Barb Drescher, former psychology instructor, blogger at ICBS Everywhere, and contributor to numerous skeptical projects, including Insight at skeptic.com, and Odds Must Be Crazy. Man, I'm just going to give up.
Crazy.
I am going to do my... that's not German. Fine. Give me a moment.
Take a deep breath in.
So,
quiet moment for...
No. This is Virtual Skeptics. If you're watching, if you want to contribute to the shenanigans that are going to be amazing this week, because I don't know what my state of mind is in, you can tweet with hashtag Virtual Skeptics. You can comment on the YouTube, and I do this every week. I'm going to start the Q&A app so you can ask us questions, so we can tag them in the video with intelligent answers if we have them, or snarky responses if we don't. Unfortunately, unlike our usual shenanigans, we don't have a trivia question this week because Tim, unfortunately, left us at the last minute to go to some fancy schmancy restaurant and not share it with us. But,
however, y'all could just make up your own trivia questions on Twitter.
Yes.
And then you can all be winners when you answer them.
True.
That's true. If you make up a really good trivia question.
See, what we've done is lowered the bar significantly, people.
Yeah.
So if you make up your own trivia question and I see it and I will read it on the show and then pat you on the back virtually. There you go. Or you can just figure out what the heck that video is behind me because it means something very special to me this week. And I would...
It's special to you this week?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
well, you'll have to explain that
only
one.
this week. Usually I hate it, but this week...
I love it.
Yeah. If you can figure out
Takes me
who that
back.
is on the bicycle right now, that would do me wonders. Up first this week.
I was going to make a joke, but it would have given it away.
No spoilers.
Sorry.
Up this week, Eve is going to talk about something other than druids.
Yes. So on our first show, which actually happens surprisingly often.
Yeah.
But on our first show after the summer solstice, I did talk about druids, sort of. And I ran through a bunch of stories about Stonehenge and the surrounding monuments. And at the time I mentioned the massive non-invasive project called the Stonehenge Hidden Landscape Project, led by the University of Birmingham in association with the Ludwig Boltzmann Institute for Archaeological Prospection and Virtual Archaeology. They use high-resolution ground-penetrating radar, magnetometry, aerial photography, airborne laser scanning, and hyperspectral scanning to virtually explore and map the area around Stonehenge and other associated ancient sites. And they found a lot of stuff. One of the finds I mentioned at that time concerned the Superhenge Durrington Walls. In June, I said, the survey found that in an early phase, the monument was flanked by a row of massive posts or stones, some of which may still survive within the banks that surround the monument. Now there's more news about Durrington walls, and there do indeed appear to be stones buried under the monument. Huzzah! So first of all, some background. The area around Stonehenge is littered with ancient stuff, and if you could bring up the first slide, there's a sort of a map of stuff. So Stonehenge is down,
sort of a map.
is there. Yeah, well, that's some of their magical geophys equipment. I've made that. But you can see Stonehenge, and then in sort of on the right, Woodhenge and Durrington walls. So you've got Stonehenge. There's a cursus, which is a bank with external ditches. Woodhenge, Durrington walls. Also lots of burials.
Oh yeah,
homes.
the cursus, isn't that a ceremonial procession or something?
That's certainly one theory about it.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's always arguments about all this
Yeah.
stuff. And other monuments, just tons of stuff. The word henge actually comes from Stonehenge, and it may have originally meant something like hanging stones, meaning either the way they're constructed, looking like they're hanging, the trilithons, or possibly looking like gallows, or possibly hinged stones. But now henge refers to earthworks.
I thought it was referring to doors, as in like the door to that cube room from Doctor Who that's underneath there.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about? No. No one? Fine. Go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted.
Oh, that's fine. But it refers, archaeologically speaking, rather than Doctor Who-ologically speaking, to earthworks, specifically a circular or oval bank with an internal ditch surrounding an open space that wasn't used for habitation. Stonehenge's ditch is outside the bank, so ironically, despite the fact that henge comes from Stonehenge, it's not a true henge. Durrington Walls is the largest henge in Britain, hence the term superhenge. It's 5 times the area of Stonehenge, 500 meters in diameter with a circumference of 1.5 kilometers. About 10 years ago, excavations uncovered 7 homes within Durrington Walls, and some have estimated that it could have had up to 1,000 houses. So since it was occupied, it's technically a henge enclosure, and also, like Stonehenge, not a true henge. I'm not sure about Woodhenge. I think it also might not be a true henge, which might lead you to suspect or question, are there any true henges?
So are any of these in Scotland?
Excuse me?
Are any of these in Scotland?
No.
Okay, so they're not true Scotsmen either.
Wow!
There we go.
Ding!
Very good.
Wow.
I believe Avebury, which is nearby, but not part of the same complex, I believe Avebury is a true henge. Anyway, the earthworks at Durrington Walls were built in the 27th century BCE, so like a long time ago, about a century after the Sarsen Circle at Stonehenge was erected. So the Stonehenge Hidden Landscape Project has been examining the ancient monuments around Stonehenge without digging, as seen here in the next slide. So it's one of their machines with Stonehenge in the background.
A multi-purpose scanner that takes a bunch of data with different instruments on the back of that.
They have a bunch of different vehicles too,
Yeah.
and then also done under the watchful eyes of the neighbors, as you can see in the next slide.
Boo.
I like the one going.
Yeah. It's a lamb.
So, yes, and apparently they've been sheared recently. And they found something exciting, which is they found a row of up to 90 to 100 standing stones buried beneath the bank at Durrington Walls. The next image shows the position of the stones. So if you can see the green dots there under the circle, those are the stones. They're obviously somewhat earlier than the earthworks under which they're buried. They may be from the same time period as the sarsen stones at Stonehenge, or they may be earlier. It's hard to tell yet, or to tell at this point, because none of them has been excavated yet. I'm not sure if they're planning to do that or not. Although I haven't
Is it just the stuff at the bottom?
What?
Is the stuff at the bottom?
Yes.
The dots? Okay.
Green, yeah, you can't see they're green. But the dots at the bottom, which to some may look green. The stones were apparently knocked over intentionally when the bank was built above them. According to the project's website, quote, at Durrington more than 4.5 thousand years ago, a natural depression near the river Avon appears to have been accentuated by a chalk-cut scarp and then delineated on the southern side by the row of massive stones. Essentially forming a C-shaped arena, the monument may have surrounded traces of springs and a dry valley leading from there into the Avon. The next two slides are a couple of artistic impressions of what the site might have looked like. One's closer up and one's further away.
Really, really dull. No.
Yeah,
I'll just
virtual slap. Again,
clearly it looks like aliens to me. So
yeah.
Well, yeah, obviously.
This had to have been done by.
Well, I was going to say that's all very nifty, and I'm sure we're all looking forward to hearing the real story when it shows up on the next season of Ancient Aliens, as I'm sure it will. It's starting to look, though, as if the aliens just couldn't quite make up their minds. They kept fiddling with the area, building new things, changing things, knocking stuff over, and just generally making it look almost like the work of humans over a long period of time. Clever aliens. There is, however, still a concern. As I mentioned last time I talked about the Stonehenge area, there's still a plan to build a tunnel road around Stonehenge to move the highway underground into a tunnel. And considering the underground treasures that have been discovered recently, this is worrying. Andy Rind-Tutt, founder of the Amesbury Museum and Heritage Trust, says, it's a big concern to all of us, especially as we are at the tip of the iceberg with this particular discovery, and it would be horrible to destroy one of the most significant sites in the world. And fair enough.
Yeah, and they might unearth the cube.
Yes,
It's true.
It's true. Just smile and nod.
Yeah.
On the other hand, though, Ryan Tutt got so excited about the discovery that he tweeted the following, which is the last slide. Is
a whole
8th
paragraph?
century?
Wow.
Yeah.
Look, this is clearly a workaround of the 140 character limit.
Yeah.
What is up with this?
Is 8th century poem The Ruin, translated by Graham Davis, early description of Durrington's Superhenge discovery, Stonehenge? The answer to this question is no.
No.
Really no. The Old English poem describes a ruined stone city on a spring. It talks about bathhouses. Not necessarily, though, in this translation, which cleverly is translated with an agenda, so it sounds like Stonehenge, but it's not. During the Anglo-Saxon period, of course, the stones of Durrington would have been just as buried as they are now. So obviously, those couldn't have been relevant. But it's supposed to be about Stonehenge, and granted, Stonehenge is just a couple of miles away, and you can see it. But it's not a city, and it doesn't look like a city. So the ruin was probably Roman, and it's often considered that it's about Bath, although that's certainly not sure. So great discovery at all, but don't start making stupid claims and appropriating Old English poetry or translating in such a way to make it seem like it's Stonehenge when it's really Stonehenge. That's kind of in the same ballpark as crediting the work to aliens. And that's all I've got to say.
just want to point out one little thing. I think Web of Trust disagrees with you. I'm showing the last slide, and there's clearly a green little circle next to this link here. So.
Well, so it must be true.
Probably because it's Twitter.
Yeah.
You think the Web of Trust is?
It's just reading Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So guys, get on it, man. Get out there and fix that thing.
Let's get Twitter labeled as bad.
Which it should be, actually. If you've ever been on Twitter, you know.
Yeah. Untrustworthy.
It should be untrustworthy.
I think that this is a pretty awesome discovery, and on an unprecedented scale. It could rewrite the prehistory, if that makes any sense, of the region. It sure takes Stonehenge down a notch. No.
Well, you know, this was it was important enough that it made The Onion. They had people's reaction to it, and one of them basically was it takes Stonehenge down a notch, or something similar to that. But no, it just, again, it's that whole area of just a couple miles is just full of ancient monuments.
Yep.
And they're learning
and no one knows
so much
who
more
they
about
were
it.
or what they were doing.
Do we know how far this dates back?
How old is it?
Durrington, well, it's the earthworks are supposed to be about 100 years younger than the Sarsen Circle at Stonehenge.
Which is
old. I believe it was 27.
Oh, so the main stones have been there already for 100 years, and they built these. Is that what you're saying?
No, the other way around.
Oh, the other way around.
Yeah.
You said younger.
So like four and a half thousand.
I thought she said older.
Don't know how. I think they won't know how old the stones are unless they
dig down,
excavate them.
Yeah.
Which they haven't done yet.
Yeah.
But
and dating things is hard.
Well, yeah, but the geophysics, on the other hand, first of all, it is non-invasive. Plus, they can do so much more comparatively quickly.
Yeah, this is you know when there's a popular show that we've talked about.
Time
Team, where they started doing geophysical surveys around the time that show started, and they were pretty simple. They would do one handheld magnetometer sweep, and it would take a couple of days to do a football field sized area. Now they're pulling multi instruments on the back of these little motorized four-wheelers at 30 kilometers an hour, doing all that data at once and collecting literally terabytes at a time. So it's the resolution's amazing.
Yeah, if you look at it and compare it to the ground penetrating radar picture of the supposed Nazi gold train, it's a lot more sophisticated.
Yeah.
That one picture with the color mapped with all the highlighted stones and stuff was very impressive. If that's the data they collect, it's a pretty good image of that there is something of interest down there. So
yeah.
So interesting.
Neat stuff.
Neat stuff.
Guys, are you hearing the echo? It's driving me crazy.
Nope.
No, I think it's in your head, Bob.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Awkward pause.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Steve. That was interesting. I didn't see any questions on the tweeters. I did get reprimanded for my True Scotsman pun, and
so you should have.
And I should have. And there's at least one long comment on the YouTube that I'm going to have to get back to because it's too long to read. Too long, didn't read. Next up, because we haven't had this in a few weeks, is me, my stuff. You guys get to learn about some robots because, you know, they're going to kill us all. I'm going to do that. Can I be your robot mama?
No.
Okay, so the University of Cambridge has applied some existing ideas that have been around for a long time, genetic algorithms and actual robots. Now, this robot arm, the mama, is using a genetic algorithm to put little blocks together. The blocks have motors in them so that they can spin and move and things like that. Let's see. Let's go back. Well, this is a good picture. If you look, there's a stereo camera looking at it. And what it does is it looks at the result of what the main robot just put together and measures the distance traveled after it's been assembled. So it's got... Okay, so it'll determine how good the configuration it made was by how much it traveled after it was put together. So essentially, it's going to try a number of different variations on putting blocks together and see which one works best. And eventually work up and find a set of assembled blocks that are the best configurations. This kind of thing has been done before in software and it's done with other robots as well. And the idea is that you have some kind of random mutation, if you will, in the way that things are put together, and you just try them and see which one works best. And supposedly the cream floats to the top, right? And then you use those, and then you can play with those, and eventually work up and build things that are better through evolution or some evolution-like process. It's interesting. It's cool. It could possibly kill us someday. But in this case, it's just a curiosity. I don't think that blocks are going to come and kill us. Maybe if they learn something about how this is done by running these tests and how best you can write the software to possibly do this kind of thing. Maybe you can apply it to nanotechnology or apply it to some kind of other way of building pieces. And then, like for example, I talked about... this was months ago. I can't remember exactly when. The robot that had 6 legs, and they would damage one of them, and it would try a number of different ways of walking. And it's the same kind of thing. They have a set of possible gaits based on the number of legs, and it tries stuff, and whichever one's best, it based on some kind of criteria like how far it moves or how fast it moves, it chooses and develops a smarter and smarter set based on how it can evolve.
I think I recently saw kind of an updated version of that type of thing, where they give the robot a childhood, where it experiments and flails around first, and then they use that as the basis for their adjustments when something gets damaged.
Yeah, I mean, you can pretty much based on a particular hardware, you can automatically generate all the possible things that they can do. And then you can narrow that down based on some kind of learning process.
I saw one example where they said that they didn't want it to use its feet, and they thought that it wouldn't take off.
Yeah, that was
and
clever.
then it flipped on its back and started walking on its elbows.
Yep.
It was just like scary, scary stuff. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and there's been a number of projects like this, and it may very well produce fruit sometimes. It has produced some interesting results, like that one is with a very unexpected result. It's possible that someday, with some more sophisticated system, that this same kind of approach can produce some kind of emergent intelligence that we didn't expect. One can hope. Because we don't want to be killed by dumb robots. So that was a paper that was published last week. You can go. I'll put the link in the show notes.
The flailing block robot.
The flailing block robot. No, actually, it was posted on a number of websites based on a press release from Reuters. And most of the headlines, I hated the headlines. This is why I had to talk about it. This is the headline. Research team creates mother robot that builds hundreds of children and improves them.
Oh, for crying out loud.
Do you think, I mean, is that like how the only way you can understand this stuff is you have to talk
Turn
down
into
to us?
babies. Yeah. That's not cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, I understand where they got that headline, but come on, guys. Come on, guys. Okay, next one is a NASA program, and I love talking about NASA stuff. This is a video I'm going to start it. Yeah. Now, many of our audience and people that like stuff that we like that probably aren't watching but post on Facebook and stuff like that about sciencey stuff have followed or at least seen the news about the Philae lander that landed on a comet last, less than 6 months. Was it 6 months ago?
Somewhere in that area.
In the summer, yeah. They had two pieces. One came close to the comet, and the other landed on it. And the idea was it was supposed to clamp down. Is this working? Let's see. Oh, it is playing. There you go. Mm-hmm. They're supposed to clamp down on the surface of the comet so they could do a lot of science. So it's like it's a lander, just like the stuff they put on Mars, except for it wasn't supposed to move around, because the thing about comets is they're so small, they don't have a lot of gravity, and you can't really put a rover on it because
this is cool.
It most likely would just its own locomotion would push it away, and it would just float away because it wouldn't hold, the gravity isn't strong enough to hold it. So the idea for this is a prototype type rover for comets, and the idea is that this thing would just be it would use its own inertia to try to just hobble around the outside of the comet. So the weak gravity of the comet would be enough to keep it on there, and it would just kind of flip around. It wouldn't have any moving parts on the outside. It's there's a program I talked about last year. It was
so it's like BB-2. That new Star Wars droid.
It's kind of. What you're referring to is the BB-8, which is the
BB-8. That's right. Yeah.
Practical special effect robot that they had in the Star Wars trailers, and it's going to be the Star Wars movie, and now came up as the Sphero Mega toy. Yeah, it has internal weight, which allows, based on gravity, when it changes its weight distribution, it makes the ball roll. Very similar, although because this is not spherical, you can't roll it. What it does, it spins up flywheels and then breaks them. So when you stop the weight really quick, the inertia pushes the cube.
Okay.
And it has 3 dimensions, so it has like two planes this way and one this way, and when the wheels spin up, depending on how much spin they give to them and how much inertia they give each one, they stop them, and it can flip it in one dimension, or it can spin it, or do various things like that. Now, in that video that I just played, which I'll link to in the show notes, they showed some experiments they did on the Vomit Comet, the 0G plane, where probably not 0G, that they can simulate microgravity on that plane as well. So you do a different parabola, and you don't get weightlessness. You'll get very low weight. So you want the thing to have some kind of weight to it. And they did locomotion where they spin it, and they did it's like a jump and release. See, they looked at photography of one of the comets they want to rendezvous with. And they looked at the surface, and there's like sinkholes and stuff on it, and they want to be able to if it fell in one of these sinkholes, to be able to recover and jump out of it. So they did a spin and jump maneuver, which is kind of cool. And all this is based on inertia, so there's no moving parts on the outside of it. It's very cool. It's a prototype. They haven't talked about how they're going to put electronics packages or cameras or any of this stuff on it. Yeah. But a lot of people are working with this kind of thing right now, and it looks really cool. And the downside for those of us who are worried about whether or not we're going to be killed by robots someday is there's not much that's going to stop these things as far as bogging it down in sand or going across water. It can pretty much just shake itself through any kind of terrain, which is unfortunate. The good news is not very fast, and any weapons would have to be internal, but still.
I mean, you could maneuver a bomb.
That's true.
Close.
It's true. Yeah. It would be a very clever kind of mine or bomb kind of thing. Yeah.
I have a question.
Or spinning blades.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, go ahead.
Was I almost don't even want to ask. Was I hallucinating, or was there a rubber ducky?
Yes.
In the video. Oh, thank God.
Let me see.
I saw
Let me see. I can find it. Where's
I saw it.
Zero G? Yeah. See.
Yeah. The hell is that?
Oh, where's? Okay, this is their experiment they did on the Zero G flight. I think they have a free-floating rubber ducky in there. I don't see it there, but let's look at the earlier in the video. Wait for it. There it is.
Yeah.
And I think that was an attempt to just have some other mass in there that could possibly interfere with it. Because you're going to have, if you're on a surface of an object that's got a lot of loose particles or sand or gravel, then these things shouldn't matter. It should be strong enough to shake these things free. So I think that was what that was. Either that or it was just NASA people being funny, because they tend to do that too.
That's
I don't
pretty
think
cool.
I don't think the rubber ducky is required for it to work.
Yeah.
So if you remove the rubber ducky, I don't think that'll protect you from it.
Oh, so that's a sand pit that it's trying to get out of?
Yeah, that last one.
Maneuver.
Let's see. That was the. So you can get that one back on here. Yeah, this is the jump escape maneuver. Look at that cloud.
Yeah.
But yeah, they must have put a lot of force into those flywheels to get it to do that. So very cool. Now.
Very cool.
One more quick one I've got. I got a couple of slides here.
I want that one to be my friend.
Yeah, that one's cute.
This is the Interact Centaur rover. Now, this isn't a real rover. This is a prototype Earth-bound rover, like something we possibly could send to the moon or something like that. Obviously, it would have to be redesigned for space. It's got rubber tires. It's got weight. It's got full housing and paint and all these other things that would add weight that you would want to send to space. But the idea is it works just like a rover, and they can use it to do test bed stuff. This past week, Danish astronaut Andreas Morgensen controlled one of the arms of this rover from the International Space Station. 400 kilometers up in orbit, and let's see, they passed the signal through Houston and out to let's see, Nordvik, Noordwijk, Noordwijk. How do I say that? Anyone? Noordwijk, Netherlands. Yeah, it's one of the European Space Agency's research and technology centers. That's where the rover was, and the astronaut remote controlled it through a task of moving and replacing a wire on a test bed. And now the important thing about this is that the communication delay from the space station to the rover is about 850 milliseconds. Now, there's only 1,000 milliseconds in a second. So that's very close to a second delay. Mm-hmm. And if you've ever tried, I don't know how you could possibly compare this to something you'd try, but let's say you were moving a joystick of something and something else was moving a second after you told it to move. It's kind of hard to get it to do exactly what you want it to do. You move and it'll move, and then you'll see it move. That's the other thing. In order to see what it moved, the video signal has to go back, so it's almost a 2-second delay. This is a problem with remote controlling anything over a long distance. Like, for instance, if we're remote controlling a rover on the moon, or let's say someone on the moon is remote controlling something farther away, distance causes the communication signals to take longer, and there's a delay.
Well, they have that with the Mars rovers. They have that problem.
But that's even worse. Yeah, that they can't control those in real time. It's such a long delay. They have to program, you have to take imagery and then plan everything out and then decide, okay, go there, upload the whole thing, and then download later what it did and figure out whether it did what he told it to. That's a whole other thing. This is like, yeah, you can control something. It's close enough you can control it, but there's such delay that you have to predict what it's going to do and then command it and then watch. The big deal about this particular experiment is that even though there was a big delay and he was doing remote control from the space station, they managed to do a task that required the precision of 150 micrometers. Now, you know what a millimeter is?
Mm-hmm.
You can probably figure out what a millimeter is. It's that little tiny notch on a meter stick. Americans, if you've seen a meter stick, yeah, meter stick, centimeters, millimeters. 150 micrometers is about 1/6 of a millimeter. So it's not as precise as you can actually get with a robot, but it's pretty damn precise. And yeah, and there's all kinds of interesting things that with the control interface and with the robot control that allow you to do this kind of thing. So it's a big deal experiment for remote control, and it's important to us who are working on those kinds of things at NASA, because in order to use a robot to repair something in space, you're going to have to remote control it over a long distance. Ta-da! So.
You know what? I just realized why. I still think it's cute, but it scares me a little bit, and it's because the camera on the top,
yeah,
it looks
the
a little
sensor package.
Yeah, it looks a lot like the eye stalks of the robot or the spaceships in War of the Worlds.
Yes, it does kind of.
And that scares me.
Although I think that's a vacuum cleaner hose. No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
Hold me,
This
Brian.
this is the
It does kind of look like a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah. This is Andreas Morgensen controlling the robot with his little joystick controller on the space station, and as you can see, he's clearly weightless. I'm kidding. And here's a close-up of the hand doing its precision. Something was it? What's it? I don't know how this maps to the actual task, but I know that the little dots there are used for machine vision, so you can tell where things are. There's got to be some kind of the article that I read on Wired and the associated log entry on the ISS site, which you can go check out. I'll link to it. Didn't go into details about the exact procedure that they're going through here. But in order to do this kind of precision control, there's got to be some kind of machine assistance, which means computers have got to be looking at stuff and
is it taking it the last little bit?
I don't know what it's doing in this picture.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is it'll prevent you from breaking stuff. Because if you overcompensate on the joystick, which is what you're going to do with a delay, you can rip things to shreds because the robot arm is stronger than you. So, I mean, that's the big problem, is that you don't want to break stuff. You want it to only do what it needs to do. It's hard. Now, the one thing about this that is related to the whole, death by robots thing is I'm sure that because the robots have such a foothold in space right now, they pretty much own Mars and the Moon, and most of the space between, space around Earth is controlled by the robots, except for the space station, which is our one outpost. If we have this ability to control them from long distances, it's got to piss them off. So.
I imagine so.
Yeah, there is no escape, is there?
Yeah. I, for one, welcome our benefactors. So, any questions? Now I want a companion cube. Thank you, Mark Price, for another great reference. I went too long. I'm sorry. I'm going to...
No, you had good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm going to move on. Bob, you're next.
Yes.
And I'm not sure I want to know about you tasting colors.
Yeah.
You don't
No.
taste colors, do
They
you?
all
No, I don't
taste like gray to him, though.
That's right. Everything tastes brown. Anyway, uh, the Germans are considered to be a
Germans.
frighteningly efficient people, um, practical people, industrious people. If you need to, say, pour 1,000 concrete bunkers over the course of a weekend, they're the ones to ask because, one, they realize that bunkers don't pour themselves, and two, chances are they're already in France.
There is a
So-
robot. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. So,
It may be a German robot.
Bob, you keep putting your hands over your face.
oh, I
Yes.
do, don't I?
should know
See,
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, this is a video medium, and I'm a moron. Okay, so Germany is European for sobriety, conscientiousness, and good sense. So what in the hell is going
Not during
on?
Oktoberfest.
Well, yeah, in Handelo, Germany this week, when 29 men and women were found tripping balls. It seems like there was a sort of mass poisoning of a group of Heilpraktikers. This basically translates to healing practitioners. It's a group of licensed individuals who practice a range of alternative health practices, and they subscribe to things from chiropractic and homeopathy to reflexology and iridology and all sorts of things. Now, there's at least 35,000 licensed Heilpraktikern in Germany. Approximately 1 in 1,000 of these alternative health practitioners, as they say, may be Auslöskungen at any time, tripping balls.
Nice.
So 1/1000th of their population. Anyway, the details were not in when I checked last. There's a police investigation underway to see what happened. It happened at a conference where a lot of these people were gathered. The working hypothesis, as I understand it, is that they were suffering the effects of amphetamine 2CE, or known by its more fun name as aqua rust. As the German language website NDR told Google Translate, taking had for 29 medical practitioner but considerable consequences. On Friday afternoon, the men and women staggered before the convention center Handelo, around, curled up on a meadow, talking incoherently, and suffered violent convulsions. There were scenes that even experienced emergency responders staggered in amazement. They advanced with large contingent too. Doctors were flown in helicopters. Police officers, paramedics, and firefighters arrived with more than 25 vehicles in the city. As far as I can tell, this is the only interesting thing that has ever happened in Handelo in the last 3 years or so. I find it curious that these alt med practitioners, when they realized that they had been poisoned, they didn't call other alt medlers. So it seems like even though the conference would have been filthy with them, instead they contacted real doctors who came and helped. So even they know that they're useless in a crisis.
This is the
Well, to be
World
fair, though,
Irony Conference.
they were out of their skulls at the time.
It's true.
Yep.
So
Well, they
actually-
called somebody. Somebody called the real doctors.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they accidentally, in their altered state, called someone responsible.
They actually just calling for a pizza.
Yeah, I was thinking they could rename their conference to the World Irony Conference.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, so anyway, aqua rust is an amphetamine whose drug profile suggests that it gives you visuals that are powerful and similar to the ones that you'd experience on LSD. I've never experienced that myself. And they also suggest that for people who are not experienced with these psychotropic drugs, that they may seem especially powerful, the aqua rust hallucinations. So if you would, I want to do an illustration of what happens when you're on this drug. So you bring up the first slide. That would be great. So what we have here is we have the drug on the upper left, and then the kind of the molecular structure on the right, and then we have two test subjects down at the bottom. And And when you take the drug, we'll do a simulation. This is what this slide would look once you take the drug.
Yes.
Okay, so I love the little pills dancing. I love that. All right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was my visual
Tripping
gag.
bunnies.
Thank you for our PG rating.
Tripping bunnies. That's right. So the leading theory is that this was a homeopathic proving gone horribly wrong. However, I haven't seen any evidence.
Tinky Winky?
They're all the same. They all come from one quivering mass of evil, as far as I can tell.
Oh. So you agree with something? You agree with Pat Robertson on something?
No, I could care less. Honestly, I just think they're funny little things. But yeah, there's no evidence to suggest, as far as I can tell, that this was a homeopathic proving. The proving is when you take a substance till it gives you effects. So let's say that you're taking caffeine and it makes you jittery and awake. Well, clearly you're going to use that to treat insomnia in a homeopathic preparation, right? And so maybe they were taking this, and so maybe they were doing a mass proving or something, but I don't know that that's supported by anything other than these Heilpraktiker do homeopathy as part of their larger practice. So I haven't seen that. The police are still investigating. The people who took the drug are not in danger of prosecution. The people who either acquired it or provided it or maybe dosed the participants with the drug, if that's what happens, they're the ones who'll be facing criminal prosecution.
So are they reasonably sure that this was not voluntary?
They don't know. They don't know. I mean, the last I heard, the police were waiting for the afflicted to return from the altered state of Drugachusetts so they could be interviewed.
Yeah,
so
well, it's been probably long enough at this point. But
you'd think they would, but I didn't see any updates in news feed.
But it's still, I mean,
the possibility that it was a homeopathic remedy perhaps coffee diluted a lot, so it was super powerful.
That's true.
Yeah.
Really, really weak coffee, so it was super powerful.
So they could taste colors. So yeah, that was the this week in poetic justice.
It's a new segment here on Virtual Skeptics this week.
Oh my gosh.
In poetic justice.
Poetic justice.
Oh,
yeah, I really hope that ends up on What's the Harm, because that totally.
Yeah.
We had to find out what it was, though. But
yeah. I'd like to see an update on that and see if anybody is going to fess up to. Well, I mean, of the people who took it, if it was voluntary, if it was something that just went wrong, or whether it was someone who did something nefarious.
Because otherwise, what is it the harm of going to those conferences?
That would work. No.
Taking drugs that you don't know what the content are, like all, what was the word I'm looking for? Supplements, but whatever.
Or it could have just been after hours and they decided, hey, let's go to a rave.
Yep.
Yeah, I can just imagine what it'd be like having 20.
Going to a rave
30,
with a bunch of
50.
German homeopaths.
Yes.
Fun.
German homeopath rave. Yes.
It would kind of be like an episode of Sprockets.
Sprockets.
Where you dance. Okay.
Yes. Touch my monkey.
Leave it alone.
Okay, thanks, Bob. That was entertaining. Up next is Barb, and
Where'd you go? Where'd he go?
He's gone.
He's gone.
His
internet.
gone.
His internet was having problems.
Yeah, but we've got one up, and now there he is. He's back.
He's back. Yay!
That
there?
was the strangest
That was freaky.
thing ever.
He just dropped out and popped back up.
Yeah, that was weird. And my lower third is working.
Right.
Yay!
It just needed to be conked on the head. That's all.
Yeah.
Google is
like
the
amnesia.
most awesome technology
Goes
ever.
away, comes back.
Oh my God.
Goes away, comes back.
There you go. That was weird because the slides didn't go away.
Yeah, they didn't.
Yeah, so Barbara, go before they take the technology away from us.
I really have almost nothing, but I have one thing that's just too good to share. So you want to bring up the first slide?
Yay!
What is this?
It looks like hemorrhoids.
This is a tub of butter.
I know
that a woman in I can't remember what Missouri, I think, found, and of course she knew what it was immediately. If you bring up the next slide, we'll show you.
It's a baboon. Oh.
Yeah, it's a sign. It's a sign that the apocalypse is near. That Trump just may win the election because
like I said,
it's showing up in butter.
I don't see the hair though. I mean, it needs the hair.
No, there's no hair. There's no hair, but
the puffy eyes and the.
I don't know. It looks. Yeah. I think it's pretty good. I think I would have seen it.
I agree too. Yeah.
No, there were a number of things floating around the internet this week that Trump looked like this, and it was always like really contorted, and it looked just like that photo of him.
Trump is a little too easy to make fun of. He's just too easy. My kids
Which
are.
Which is why he terrifies me.
Yeah. Mm. My kids are in a film class at school, and they have to make films. It's not just film appreciation. And their first film has to be either a slapstick comedy or a political comedy. And of course, all of the ideas for all of the groups all revolve around Trump. It's
so slapstick.
It's too easy. It's too easy.
Dumb and Dumber.
That's a good
that
one.
Would be if he were running with Palin.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, you can take it. No, royalties are reasonable.
Now, okay, Dumb and Dumber, but I guess Dumb and Dumber 2 would be with Ann Coulter.
Yeah. Sorry.
God.
Do not speak the name.
Of the evil one. Smeared corpse.
She who must not be named.
We saw her at the Magic Castle a few months ago.
Yeah. What? Yeah. What? You saw her?
We saw her at the Magic Castle a few months
ago.
About a year ago. Had it
last
at least a year ago. Yeah. Oh, that's right. It was when you were out, wasn't it?
There. Yeah, I was in the same room with the Noxema smeared corpse.
Yep. Yep. We were in the small theater. Yep.
I'm gonna keep saying it.
So Ann Coulter's been to the Magic Castle and I haven't.
Yeah.
Well, you got to come out and visit.
Or become a crazy right-wing lunatic.
Based on, I'm just totally depressed now.
Sorry.
The world is shit. Nathan Miller said on Twitter. Nathan Miller, for the show.
The world is shit.
I cannot believe he's not margarine. That's Nathan Miller's quote.
I don't know if it was margarine. Honestly, I didn't read it that closely. Yep. I think it was butter, though.
I think it's whipped something or other. Whipped margarine. I don't know. So that's our stories. Thanks, everyone, for their submissions. And thank you, people, for watching our stuff.
What's
now
behind you?
What's behind me? A video. Now we're going to do the closing stuff, in case you didn't know that we're going to do the closing stuff. We don't have a trivia question, so if you asked a trivia question and you had the answer, congratulations.
You were correct if you answered your own trivia question.
Yes.
If you're not, that's just sad.
The video behind me is, because nobody even bothered to answer. If you look really closely, you can probably...
I saw answers.
Yeah? Where?
I thought so.
Yeah?
On Twitter.
I didn't see them. What did you see?
Hang on, I'm looking. Hey, is that video in the background Jim Cotta?
No, it's not Jim Cotta. Sorry. Thanks for the guess, though. It is a rather well-known Bill Murray movie from my childhood, the 80s. back when things were not PC.
It just doesn't matter.
It just doesn't matter. This is the movie trailer for a camping movie with Bill Murray, and at the height of his really bad hair, called Meatballs.
It's one of my favorites.
Yes, it's a quite funny kind of teen camping thing. And I'm going camping with. I'm actually going camping tomorrow for a couple of days with the 7th grade class at my daughter's school. So it probably will not be as funny or as crazy, and I will not be Bill Murray. Which is
You're not going to the place where that camp counselor was killed back in the 70s, are you?
Maybe. No. There will be no hockey masks.
Oh, there have to be hockey masks, if for no other reason than to scare the hell out of the kids, because that's what it's for.
If you knew the school my kids went to, you'd know that would be a bad idea.
Do they carry weapons?
No, go the other direction altogether. So thank you all for playing. What's left? We got book time and we've got announcements. Do you have any announcements this week? We have no announcements. There is nothing going on this week. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. If you did go to Dragon Con last week, I hate you.
You don't hate me.
I don't hate you. I'm just jealous because I wish I could have gone. It looked like you guys had fun.
We hate Tim because he's not here, so we can hate on him as much as
That's true. We can because Tim seemed like he had a really good time at Dragon Con.
Yeah, I barely saw him.
Yeah. The only other thing I wanted to mention is, Barbara, didn't you watch a movie recently?
Do we have time? Do we honestly have time for that?
I just wanted. Okay. I guess we don't have time, but sometime soon we're going to hear
talk about
Barbara's critique of the movie Lucy. It's
bad.
Yes. So let's do book time. Who's got books? Anybody got books?
Bad.
Go, Bob.
I gotta go, Bob.
Go, Bob.
Aristotle says that humans are rational animals. That is, he makes the claim that humans are rational animals. Notice how explicitly calling it a claim, rather than just describing it as what Aristotle says, helps you think about it in a slightly different way. Calling it a claim holds it up before your mind as something to be wondered about. What reasons did Aristotle have for making that claim? Is it true that humans are rational animals?
Irrational or rational?
Are rational.
Are rational, which I'm still confused. Go, Eve.
Legend has it that Alexander's father was the mysterious exiled king of Egypt, Nectanebus.
Did he claim
having
this?
flown from his country, Nectanebus found refuge in the court of Philip, king of Macedon, whom he served as magician and astrologer. However, Nectanebus immediately fell in love with Philip's wife Olympias and tried to seduce her with his magic tricks. He convinced her that the Egyptian god Ammon would visit her at night in the form of a dragon and conceive a son who would be avenging the wrong deeds Philip had done to her.
Barbara?
The vacation felt odd and sad. Dad kept an open beer can between his legs as he drove, and whenever a cop came up in the rearview mirror, he asked Chris to hide the beer for him. On their way to see the Grand Canyon, they stopped in Las Vegas for the night and got a hotel room. Chris and his sisters watched television while Dad went out. The next morning, their father announced that the vacation would be cut short. They had spent all their vacation money. Right? On their way back to Massachusetts, they took a short side trip to see the Grand Canyon.
I'm not sure what that is. Ada Lovelace was given a famous name before she made her own. Her father was Lord Byron, the bad boy of English romantic poetry, whose epic mood swings would be topped only by his string of scandalous affairs with women, men, and his half-sister. Little Lovelace's mother had had enough. 1 month after the girl was born, she took the baby and quit the marriage. Lord Byron left England and never returned. What's your book, Bob?
My book was Learning to Think Things Through by Gerald Nozick.
Nozick.
Nozick? that guy. It's a textbook that I'm
Yeah, I was
reading.
going to say, is that one something you're reviewing for possible class?
It's yeah.
Is it good? Is it good?
Meh.
Man.
It's all right. He's trying real hard.
Ah, yeah, too hard, right?
Yeah.
Eve, what's your book?
It's Medieval Monsters by Damien Kempf and Maria L. Gilbert. And hang on, I have to show you the picture that goes along with what I read. It's Alexander's mother in bed with a dragon, with Alexander's father looking in.
Okay.
Hey, what are you doing?
Yep. And the dragon going, what? As they would do.
He's about to go jump out the window because the husband's out. What's your book, Barbara?
My book is Ranger Confidential. I don't know if you can see that, really.
It's a little washed out, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Living, Working, and Dying in the National Parks by Andrea Langford.
Oh, interesting. Cool. So there's a lot of interesting stories in that one, I bet. This one is something I just found in a bookstore and I thought was interesting. It is called Headstrong, 52 Women Who Changed Science and the World by Rachel Swaby. There's the cover. And there's all kinds of interesting women in here. Maria Marin, Gertrude Elion. I'm just randomly picking stuff. A lot of people I have never heard of and unfortunately have not heard of, which is the same thing, but hey.
Yeah. But drawn out.
Yes.
With an adverb.
With
What
that,
a little stronger statement than the other.
it was a stronger statement deliberately. There's people that you should know of, and unfortunately you don't, kind of book. So there you go. That was book time. I guess we're done. Are we done?
I think we're done.
I believe so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for watching and putting up with us. And also, everyone out there, please wish Tim a very unhappy meal. I'm just
Suck it,
kidding.
Tim.
I'm just
I hope you
kidding.
choke
I'm
on
just
it, man. Choke on it.
So, there's the music.
Hey, where's our outro? Our new outro.
New outro? The music's
Yeah.
not working for some reason. Let's see.
Oh.
Did it because it redid the thing? Okay. Well, I'll just read the thing. Put the
Oh, this is
logo
gonna
up.
be depressing.
Yeah.
Aw.
This the virtual skeptics.
Everyone hum the phenomenon.
Yes. Oh,
I'll dance anyway.
yes. The Virtual Skeptics is an independent production of What's the Harm.net, Skeptical Humanities, myself, ICBS everywhere.
Amazing Grace.
It was designed by Sarah Mayhew at sarahmayhew.com, and our theme music is
The sound
and user permission.
that saved a wretch.
It's
Oh, God,
much
turn it off.
it's much better with bagpipes.